I saw one of the attendees here is 8.5 months pregnant. I would imagine she's probably just surviving today, which would be normal, right? So depending what's going on in our life on a day-to-day basis, we may move along this continuum between struggling and in crisis to thriving and excelling. When I was in graduate school, I was super afraid that my professors were going to see that I personally deal with an anxiety disorder. I thought my admission to Northwestern University was a mistake because I didn't make it into anywhere else. Take that, University of Akron. And I was so nervous in class, my voice shook. I had imposter syndrome and low self-esteem. And I was afraid my professors were going to say, girl, you can't be a therapist. You've got your own mental health issues. But thankfully, we all have mental health. And they recognized that and encouraged us all to seek our own personal counseling and therapy. And it was transformational for me. So today, I travel across the country, across industry, teaching people about mental health awareness and mental health triage in the workplace so that I can help us move from surviving to thriving. And I want you to look at this, and I want you to be honest and gentle with yourself and ask yourself, where do I fall on this continuum today? No shame, no judgment, no stigma. Our mental health is a normal response to our genetics, our genetic predispositions, and our levels of support versus our levels of trauma and stress. And so when I speak across the country, most of us right now are falling in struggling or surviving. And I have the answer for you. It's called the infusion revolution. This is based on 12 mindsets that after carefully listening to my clients for decades, I listened to them and I learned from them. And it was such a blessing to reap the wisdom from their life experiences. And I thought, what makes some people happy and joyful and successful and have a holistic life of success? And what causes others to suffer? And I realized there are 12 mindsets. These are the 12 keys to living a holistically successful life that includes mental well-being, financial success and prosperity, and also connected relationships. They are each a chapter of my book, and I had a PhD researcher find that they are all empirically supported to change your life. So we are going to dive into these today, and the coolest thing about these 12 mindsets is that half of them are related to heart energy, and the other half of them are related to power, our vitality. And so today's presentation is going to inspire you to get out of your heads and into your hearts and into your bodies. So the first section here is on heart. And so we're going to start out with presence. Mindfulness practices have been around for thousands of years and across thousands of cultures. The breath is believed to tie together the mind, the body, and the spirit. And mindfulness in the workplace is practiced at Google and Nike and Boeing and AT&T. And this is because the research shows that when we take time for breath work, for meditation, for yoga, which is meditation with movement, or we unplug from technology and we connect with nature, or we're present truly with our loved ones. We're not on our phones or devices, and we're not thinking about other tasks or other things. I'd like you to gift yourself with presence for this presentation and really think about how you're going to incorporate it into your life going forward. My top recommendation is that you change your morning routine. instead of reaching for your phone and reading the news or your social media or your work emails and flooding your brains with cortisol, take a moment to breathe, to set an intention for the day, to journal, to stretch, to go outside, have your favorite cup of coffee. This regulates your nervous system and sets you up for success for the day. I had a client years back who was super stressed out financially in his business. And I was teaching him about the work of Eckhart Tolle, who's one of my favorite mindfulness authors. And Eckhart wrote The Power of Now. And my client left the session, and I didn't hear from him for 6 weeks. I was growing very worried. And he came into his next session, and he said, Joyce, that session got me through the hardest last month and a half of my life. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, I left your office and I went to my doctor's and I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Can you imagine? 43 years old, had a wife, kids, a business that he ran. And he said, I remembered your words. I remembered our session. And he said, so instead of having fear-based and catastrophic thinking about his prognosis, he focused on his breath and his body, and he had an epiphany. He realized he felt healthy. He felt just as healthy as he did before getting the diagnosis, and he decided to breathe and focus on that. He laid in the MRI machine, and instead of worrying about the results, he said that he listened to the music, which happened to be Madonna's Vogue, of all things. And I just saw someone do that. That was awesome. Strike a pose. And so he just laid there and struck a pose. And I am so happy to share with you, it is nearly 10 years later, he is cancer-free. He has a daily meditation practice, and it changed his life. And he shared an analogy with me that I want to share with you. He said, Joyce, it's as if in life, when we are born, we are each given a record album. And the needle sets on the record, and it begins to play. And if we worry about the past, we're second-guessing or ruminating, or we're obsessing and worrying about the future, we scratch our record, and there is no music. He said the present moment is the only place that we can hear our song. Isn't that so wise? So we're all on that hamster wheel of busyness. So how can you cultivate more presence? We're going to go through an exercise together. I want you to put your feet on the floor, uncross them. Thank you. Take anything out of your hands if you're holding something. Sit nice and tall in your chair, and I'm going to explain this to you. This is called square breathing or box breathing, and it's an evidence-based practice that's been used for Navy SEALs so that when they are super stressed out and they are in a life-saving mission, they can calm their bodies so that they can think clearly and make decisions quickly. So the way it works is we're going to start at the bottom left of the square. You're going to exhale out your air, and we're going to breathe in to the count of 4, and then we're going to hold to the count of 4, and then we're going to exhale to the count of 4, and then we're going to hold to the count of 4. And if you follow the square with your eyes as we do this, it's an active meditation, which is going to improve your results. So looking at the screen, exhale out your air. Inhale through your nose, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And what do you notice? Feels so good. That was free. It took, 30 seconds? I do this before public speaking. I do it on planes because I get claustrophobic. So I look at the tray table in front of me and I follow it with my eyes. And sometimes I've even fallen asleep. Meditation and mindfulness practices help us detach from our egos. If you believe in the mind-body-spirit connection, our ego is our mind. And we all have one. It's part of the human condition. And it houses our imposter syndrome, our perfectionism, and our inner critic or inner saboteur. I've named mine Zelda. She's a total pain. I encourage you to name your inner saboteur. It's actually a mindfulness practice where we can become aware where that negative voice creeps up and tells us that somehow we are not enough. So when we practice mindfulness, we detach from our ego. We detach from that inner voice that's putting us down. And we connect with our higher, wiser self, our spirit, our essence, our soul, your wise self. And on a daily basis, when you're facing problems, if you do breath work or meditation and you connect with that deeper, wiser self, you know the answers to your own problems. If you journal from that place, this is a practice I have, I'll journal as if I know the answers. I don't know what I'm going to write to whatever problem I face, and I find that deep within somewhere, I know exactly what I need to do. Compassion. Compassion is one of the heart-based mindsets that leads to holistic success. And I'm not just talking about cognitive empathy. Empathy is the magic wand in relationships. It's the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and imagine how they're feeling and to convey that. And we have cognitive empathy. Let's say that you have a coworker that's going through a difficult time. You can say to her, gosh, I understand that. Of course that would be overwhelming. That makes a lot of sense. Of course you'd be feeling afraid or scared or super stressed out. That's cognitive empathy. Emotional empathy is when you take it a bit deeper and you feel with her. You feel how she feels. And you share in that emotional experience that deepens your relationship. Now, transformative empathy is when you take it another step and you feel called to help. You feel called to do something. So I ask you, how can you practice empathy at home and at work and improve and deepen your relationships and really be there for others in powerful ways? I love this guy. I know it's a women's conference, and I know we have some allies in the room, so representing here. Self-love. We set the tone for all of our other relationships. So how we take care of ourselves demonstrates our worth. And if you are neglecting yourself, you're not sleeping right, you're not eating right, you're not taking time for your hobbies, you're not seeing your friends, you are communicating to the world that they don't need to respect you in the way that you deserve either. And so I have for you, this is my favorite wheel exercise, and this is one of the free downloadable handouts. If you're going to do one thing from today's keynote, please complete this. It's one of the tools from my book. We do not often measure our self-care. And the way that this works is each spoke of the wheel is a different aspect of self-love. Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you practicing your hobbies? Are you moderating your substance use? And there's also psychological ones like self-forgiveness and self-compassion. I had an opportunity for self-forgiveness a while back. I was serving as the president of the Illinois Counseling Association. And I sent an email to 60 board members. They were mostly psychologists and really prominent therapists. And I said, come on, everyone, it's time to get our ducks in a row for the conference. And the executive director replied, and she goes, man, Joyce, I think you made a typo. I had spelled ducks with an I. Oops. We're all human. None of us is perfect. So self-forgiveness is when we can let go of that and recognize we're not perfect, it's okay, and move on. So the other really important key is support. The higher our levels of stress, the more self-love and the more support we need. Now, we as women, I'm generalizing here, but and speaking for myself, I'm a caretaker, I'm a mother of 4. I am much more comfortable taking care of other people than myself. And for me, it led to exhaustion, depletion, and burnout. And I had to do some serious work to get back on track. And I had to recognize that what was keeping me from asking for help and support was pride, was fear, difficulty trusting in others, also not wanting to be an imposition to others. But we need to lean into our support. Our support network is like a garden. We need to nurture the relationships that we have. We need to plant seeds for new relationships. And sometimes we need to weed out toxic relationships. I went through that. I was in a marriage for 18 years, 25-year partnership that I had 2 kids with. And in my state of burnout, I was so depressed, honestly. And I had a mantra that I said, I deserve a loving, present, and mutually supportive partner. And either it was going to become clear that that was my husband or that it was not. And after couples counseling and everything else, I made the really difficult decision to leave that marriage. And I did work on my self-worth, and I called to the universe for a great love. I wrote in my diary what I wanted my life to look like 5 years from then. And then I manifested Jason, my husband, who's taking photos over there. Yay! We met at the American Counseling Association. He threw peanuts at my head during a happy hour. So the first thing I said was, are you throwing stuff at me? And he's like, yeah, get off your phone. You're taking selfies. And now we have a blended family of 4 kids. I didn't know I'd manifest a guy that looks like Blake Shelton. So that was pretty good. So Jason has taught me how to receive support. And honestly, it was uncomfortable at first because he's a nurturing person. He's also a counselor and a teacher. And it was difficult for me to receive. And so I want you to think about in your life, who is in your support network? This is another wheel that I'm gifting to you. You write the names of the people who are in your support network, and you evaluate how supported you feel. As I speak to people across the country, 95% of people say that they need more emotional support. What does that say about us as a society? We need to practice that empathy and compassion and presence and be there for ourselves and others. Detachment is another skill that I never heard about. You know, when I was going through my clinical training, it was all new to me. But detachment is healthy emotional separation. And I have 2 quick stories about this. One, I was in Target, and the woman in front of me was crazy rude to the cashier. She was even swearing at him and calling him names. And he stayed completely calm and professional. His feathers weren't ruffled at all. He was actually really nice to her. And when it got to be my turn, I said, I am so sorry that that woman was so rude to you. And you were amazing. How did you not get frustrated with her? And he goes, oh, I don't let anyone in my head who isn't paying rent. That's smart, right? That's detachment. It's imagining that there's plexiglass between you and another person who might be kind of toxic. Maybe they're in a bad space. We don't know what's going on with them that day. I remember one time I was super rude to a salesperson. It was not my usual character. My father had died 2 days before. And so we have to kind of give people the benefit of the doubt and some grace and compassion. My other quick detachment story, when my daughters were small, in fact, Claudia was a newborn and Celeste was 3, my older sister was coming to visit. And she kind of is the perfect mom. Her kids are really well behaved. And I was like, oh no, Celeste is 3. She's tantruming every night when she goes to bed, and Paula's gonna see this, and it's gonna be so embarrassing. So the first night I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, it's bedtime. I'll go put Celeste to bed. And I go upstairs, and Celeste, of course, is refusing. And I get in a power struggle with my 3-year-old. Who do you think won? Of course she did. I read like 4 stories. I came down exhausted, and my sister Paula said, Joyce, you locked horns with her. You can't do that. You need to detach. You stay grounded. And I realized, oh my gosh, in cognitive behavioral therapy, they ask us to think, what's the negative belief about ourselves? And my belief was that if my daughter's tantruming, I am a bad mom. And the irony is, then I acted like a bad mom because I was frustrated. And so instead, I replaced that with a mantra of, I'm human and I'm doing the best I can. A couple days later, I saw my friend Laura coming out of preschool, and she had her toddler, Lindsay, under her arm. And Lindsay was screaming and flailing and crying and kicking. And Laura said, oh, hey, Joyce, how's it going? And I'm like, oh my gosh, she didn't get upset about this at all. That's detachment. I'm going to lead you through a guided meditation. Please put your feet on the floor, nothing in your hands. Put your hands on your lap, and we're going to start some music. This music is by a French pianist named Riopi, and it's called Meditation 22. And it's to the count of 4, so you can breathe in to the count of 4, you can exhale to the count of 4. And just in case it's not working, we're just going to go ahead and get started. So gently look down your nose or close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and tune inward. And I want you to notice your breath, and slowly breathe in to the count of 4 through your nose, and out through your nose and mouth. And begin to slow and deepen your breath. And now I'd like you to place your right hand on your heart. And I want you really to hold yourself and to honor everything that you have been through at home and at work over the last several years. And wrap yourself with loving self-compassion. You have done so much, so well. Thanking yourself, extending the love that you so easily extend to others deep into your heart. And then I'd like you to put your left hand over your belly and continue to breathe deeply. And I want you to imagine that behind your left hand, inside your belly, is a flame. And that flame is you. It's your unique light and spirit. And as you breathe in, I want you to imagine that that flame is starting to grow. It's starting to burn stronger, bigger, brighter, warmer. And that positive energy is filling your whole body. It's even radiating beyond you. This is your light, your energy, your soul's song. And now I'd like you to wrap your arms around you with one hand on either shoulder as if you're giving yourself a hug. And really hold yourself. Really breathe in and imagine you're hugging someone who you love so, so, so much. And honor how special and valuable you are. And make a promise that you're going to take something from today to take much better care of yourself. Giving yourself one last squeeze, I want you to lay your hands back on your knees and take another cleansing breath. Feel free to shake it out or move around in your seat if you need to release some energy. One more cleansing breath in, releasing it out. And gently and slowly open your eyes and come back to the room. Sometimes people cry during that experience, so if you had some emotions come up, that's totally normal. And taking just a moment to reboot your mind, body, and spirit through a simple practice like this can improve your health, your concentration, your mental health, and your relationships. So we finished the heart section. So I want you to think about how can you align better with your heart energy? How can you be more loving to yourself? And how can you be more loving at home and at work? And now moving into the power section. The first is abundance. And abundance is the opposite of scarcity. My father was born during the Great Depression, and he understandably had a scarcity mindset around money. You all, as women in banking, understand that scarcity mindset is running rampant right now. People are afraid. People are stressed out. There's chronic change and uncertainty. And so we want to change our thinking from scarcity to abundance. So from the states of being on the left to the states of being on the right. And you can do this through cognitive behavioral therapy by paying attention to your thoughts and your self-limitation. I had an experience when I first started keynote speaking where I got my first keynote out of stage, and I had no idea what to charge. And I knew that self-worth can sometimes impact our net worth. So I consulted my friend Ross, who's a really successful author and speaker. I specifically asked a man, because men unfortunately still earn, for us, we earn 78 cents on their dollar. And so I encourage you to have mentors to help you with this. So I said to Ross, Ross, what should I charge for an out-of-state keynote? And he gave me this rate, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna feel, that's gonna be hard to say. And so I told the client company that amount, and she said, fantastic, where should we send your check? And I was like, oh my gosh, and I called Ross, and I was like, I thank you so much, I can't believe I'm getting paid that amount of money for a 45-minute keynote. And he said, 45-minute keynote? I gave you my full day rate. Right? So the most we get is what we ask for. Our friendship isn't quite the same. Self-awareness. Google is interviewing for self-awareness and emotional intelligence over education and work experience because it is so important, especially with the rise of AI. Our humanity is the differentiator. So counseling, coaching, mentoring, anything you can do to help remove your blind spots. And we all have those, right? We're works in progress. I remember driving down the street recently, and I was feeling kind of self-righteous. I was like, what is wrong with people? Little judgy. I'm like, why do people have road rage? I don't ever have road rage. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's because I cause the road rage. So a little humility, responsibility. A lot of people sit on therapy couches talking about other people. They talk about their boss, they talk about the government, they talk about the economy, their partners, and we can't control other people, right? We can only control ourselves. I did it myself. The first time I was in therapy, my mother starred in every session. And the second time I was in therapy, I spent a lot of time talking about my ex-husband. And the therapist was really good, and she said, Joyce, what about you? You're the common denominator, and you're the only one you can change. So we need to not only be the protagonist or the star of our own life story, we need to become the author. We want to honor that life is not fair in her dealings of hardships and blessings, and we may have been dealt a difficult hand, and we want to honor that with loving self-compassion, but we want to pick up our pen and we want to write the best version of the rest of our lives and tend to our dreams, because that's a form of self-care. So in therapy, there's a question called the miracle question, and it's my favorite. I want you to think about it. If you had a magic wand, what's the biggest, best life that you can imagine? And don't make it small. Make it ridiculous. Imagine what would be the fullest, best career, family life, social life, health status that you would like. I'm a big believer in vision boards and having mantras that lead you toward self-fulfilling prophecy. That's something that, man, if there's anything I've learned as a psychotherapist, it's the power of self-fulfilling prophecy. What we think, we become. So if we say to ourselves, I'm broke, guess what? That's how it's going to play out, because that's deep in your belief system. So we want to change that vision and make it greater for ourselves. Again, according to cognitive behavioral therapy, which is one of the most empirically supported forms of therapy, our thoughts precede our emotions and behaviors. So what we think, we become. So we have to turn down our inner Zeldas, right? Name yours, name your inner saboteur, and we want to become our own loving parent, compassionate advocate, and best friend. I want to share a story with you. I have a book that I'll share with you after the talk, but for many years, I was working on that book for over 10 years. And I ran into my friend Randy, who's a therapist, at a holiday party, and he's like, Joyce, how is your book coming along? I know that's really important to you. And I said, oh, Randy, I had to put it on the back burner. It's not going very well. I had rejections from publishers. And he goes, oh, man, you need to talk to my monk. And I was like, your monk? And he said, yeah, my Buddhist monk. I really think that he can help you. He's one of the most brilliant people I know. So I made a consultation with Randy's monk, having no idea. He was not the Tibetan-looking monk that I was expecting. He was kind of a regular guy in black t-shirt and jeans, but I knew right away he was one of the smartest people I'd ever talked to. He was brilliant. He was talking about where science meets spirituality, drawing these little diagrams. So he said, Joyce, why are you here? And I told him about my book and all the rejection and all the frustration. And after a while, he said, stop. I have your answer. And my heart started beating, and I was like, oh my gosh, the monk is going to fix me. And he wrote something on a little piece of paper, the answer, and he handed it to me, and it said this. I was like, what? Are you being serious? And he said, 100%. Weaken the fiction. WTF, weaken the fiction. All the excuses, all the rationalizations, you, and 100% you, are in your own way. So I started acting as if, which is a psychological technique of imagining that you've already achieved your goals. So I started walking around my house like this and saying, I am an international author and speaker, like my dear friend Brené Brown. My best friend accused me of psychotic optimism. She's also a therapist. But then she played the game with me, and she started calling me and leaving messages and saying, I can't wait for your book tour. And I was like, man, I can feel this. I can feel that this could happen for me. So I called my literary agent and I said, if I don't have a book deal in the next 30 days, I'm going to self-publish. And within 3 weeks, I had 2 book deals, and one of them was with the publisher of Brené Brown. So you can do this too. And look at this. This was my book tour. Can you believe it? Isn't that amazing? Do you believe me? My book was published during the pandemic. My book tour was very humbling. I sold 1 book, and it was to the woman who ran the event. So I went to Madame Tussauds Wax Museum with Jason, and I acted as if I had the New York City book tour of my dreams. I had my interview with Oprah, I met my spiritual advisor, the Dalai Lama, and saw my BFF, RuPaul. So you can do this too. Stand up. I want you to put on your mental crown, stand tall, and I want you to know that the most you get is what you ask for. And I want you to introduce yourself to 2 people standing near you as if you've already achieved your greatest dreams. So I want to hear about Nobel Prize winners, CEOs of global banks, best-selling authors. When I've done this before, I had one woman say, my house is completely renovated, my kids are doing great. So nothing's too much. Don't be afraid. Introduce yourself to 2 people as if you've already achieved your dreams. Go. You have 2 minutes. Yes. Oh, you just got back from Italy?
No, I was actually just in Paris.
Amazing. Oh, I'm so excited. When are you going?
I want to go this summer.
Oh, so you are going this summer. It's booked. Oh, that's awesome. And what about you?
I'm going to have a dog that does not bark at everything outside.
Amazing.
That's a good one. And we go out to dinner as a family every weekend, and the kids behave.
That sounds amazing. I love it. 1 more minute. All right, queens, we're going to come back to the room. If you'd take a seat, please. Y'all are loud. Did you hear yourselves? That's exciting, right? That felt good, right? I've been doing this exercise for more than 10 years, and every year I get calls and emails from people saying, you know how I said I was going to start my own mental health company? Well, here's the website. Thank you. Thoughts are very powerful. So I want to hear from you. Who do we have in the room? Anyone want to share? Yes.
Under 40, but professional mascot for over 40 years, and it's going great.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Congratulations. Awesome. Who else? Who wants to share with us about their fabulous life? Yes?
My husband and I just started a small business, so a successful business owner.
That's amazing, and that you can work together. Congratulations on her successful small business. Amazing. Amazing. So I want you to continue this strategy of acting as if it expands what you think is available to you, and it changes your behaviors. So we are now finished with the power mindsets. So I want you to think about how can you, sorry, the font got a little messed up. How can you be more empowered personally? Did you feel how strong you felt when you were acting as if? How can you bring that at home and to your personal relationships? And then how can you be more empowered at work? Everything that we have talked about today, self-care, mindfulness, support, positivity, vision, it all cultivates resilience, which is the ability to move through challenges and grow to become more balanced, more flexible, and more resilient. And that is what is going to set you up for success. So now I would like you to please pull out your phones and access this QR code. And I thank you so much for doing this. This is an evaluation of today's presentation. And by completing it, you will get a free downloadable PDF about mental health in the workplace. And this is something I'd like you to share with your employers or whoever books meetings or professional development trainings in your group. So thank you so much for taking a moment for that. I really appreciate it. Talkadot helps me reach larger audiences and help and heal more people. I really believe it's my soul's purpose to remove the shame and stigma around mental health and promote awareness and access to care. Thank you for doing that, and I'll share that again. I would love to meet you. I will be selling and signing books and my new companion workbook over by registration. I'd love to take pics and answer any questions that you might have. So I hope to meet you there. And in closing, I want you to take what you learned today and practice it so that you can live, lead, and succeed with power plus heart. So thank you very much. Thank you. Lovely being with you all today. And please feel free to reach out to me if I can be a support or a resource to you. Thank you.